Last year I did a review of my Canon S200 digital Elph 2 megapixel camera. Super high technology back from 2002. But today we're going to do a side-by-side with the S200 and the Fujifilm XP130. See how 16 years or so of technology has improved things. So this one came out in 2002, this one came out in 2018, so it's getting up there in age, but still not too old. XP130 has a 1/2.3 inch sensor. S200 has a 1/2.7 inch. However, the lenses, we've got the equivalent of 28 to 140 and then 35-70 for the S200. But the interesting thing is with the apertures, f3.9 to 4.9 and f2.8 to f4. So with the S200, we're getting a little bit more light. Here's a good side-by-side, the latrine. Basically junk, but, or some other word you want to potentially use. So far the camera is not turning off, which is good, but I'm gonna turn it off as much as I can, just in case. We do have two batteries. One camera is 2 megapixel, the other is 16. They're both JPEG only, which you'd think in 16 years camera companies would learn to include RAW in all of their, cameras, but I guess not. There we go. The challenge here is that their maximum and minimum focal lengths are different, so I'm trying to gauge how close or far I need to be. Hopefully I didn't step on that dog. Always dog around here. There we go. Functionality is actually very similar. They have the little dials or wheels or jogs or whatever for changing the zoom. They've got, basic layouts with the directional pad, and so things really don't change too much with this type of camera, which honestly I think is not great. Of course, the real challenge will be darker situations. One of my biggest gripes with Digicams these days is that a lot of them have those 1/2.3 inch sensors like this Fujifilm, and this is even a little bit smaller, but back then it was reasonable. Back then it was, technology-wise that was okay, but in this case, such a new camera, tiny little sensor, slow lens, which also is a really important thing to consider with the small sensors. If the lens is also not getting a lot of light through, that's really detrimental to the quality. Now, of course, you don't need perfect quality, but there are things like cell phones and other technology from other companies that have improved a lot, which it's irritating or frustrating to see no real progress besides super expensive 1-inch sensor cameras that I don't know if the price is justified for what you get, quality-wise compared to a good smartphone. The Canon is keeping the exposure compensation when it turns on and off, but some of the other settings like the timer are not saved. With the Fujifilm, it does not save the timer ever, which is kind of irritating. Let's do the classic brick wall test over here. S200 actually has a nice build quality to it, metal casing. All the rubbery pieces kind of disintegrated after a while, but the rest, the regular plastic and the metal is doing fine. What it looks like I said, the rubber basically disintegrated. These are the Wasabi batteries I picked up. They're a lot lighter weight than the original. Maybe I'm just not used to how short the battery life was back then. See how the video works on these two. In video mode. I have 81 seconds on the PowerShot. I don't know how good that'll be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Obviously video took a lot longer to improve through the years compared to photos. Let's do some straight Canon photos. I've got my Pirate strap ready to go. Okay, so far the batteries have been all right. So I'm thinking that maybe the charger they sent me is a no-go, but my original charger was working. Just seems a little finicky, so not perfect, but so if it works, it works. Obviously, to use something like this, getting good light is always important. The camera does have a viewfinder, and it does work, but it is optical, and it's got parallax and just not very useful in my opinion. There have been other cameras like the Fujifilm X10 that I had for a while. I had the optical viewfinder as far as I remember. It just wasn't super useful. With something like this, I don't need to be super concerned about focus from a distance. The reflection on the water is nice. Try to get more of that. Nice metal case to the lens. The motor inside's funny. It's comically loud, but it still works. I mean, it was always loud, so it's not like it changed with age at all. It was just never great in that case. I don't know if this has any type of histogram, but that would be super useful. It might have it in the review mode. Yeah. So it looks slightly overexposed. For some reason, when I'm looking at the preview, it's looking overexposed. And there's no way to really know if it is or not until you look at your photo afterward. I'm fully zoomed. Delay isn't terrible. It's got maybe 2 seconds or so after you take the photo until it's ready to do another one. We could go down here and check this out. Honestly, it's pretty pleasant to use. It's simple, it works. The photos, you know, won't be amazing, but beer bottles, beer cans, pop, water, every flippin' bottle you can think of. Actually, I just noticed the AIAF on the top of the camera, which must have been a pretty cool feature back then, where you let the camera decide in the general area to focus, which is basically 3 parts of the image. Overall, nice to use. It works. It's pretty fun. The new batteries are okay. Not amazing, but they're holding out. This one's definitely been okay. So I did some video with it and also the photos. As I say that, it says change the battery pack. Around 18 years later, that was the first photo walk with the Canon PowerShot SC100 digital Elph. Compared it a little bit to the Fujifilm XP130, I was curious to see what the image quality in the videos would be with that time span of, I think, 16 years, because that camera came out in 2018. This camera, using it just for casual photos, it's fun, it works, it still works just fine, you know. Video, of course, is not good, but photos, 2 megapixel JPEGs, you could still use them in online, you know, post them online or something. Now, this specific camera does have some dead pixels, so I might be trying to fix that, or I might leave them. But yeah, it works, it's fun. You know, go buy an old camera if you don't have one. In my case, this is my original decent camera, and I'm glad that I kept it. I'm glad that I can still use it with some new batteries. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Scott Factory Bonsai. If you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing in the pause feature. All that helps out a lot. See ya. Okay. We're running. Oh, it did not last. Test number 2. How many? Oops. Oh yeah.